So I've done mine a little differently. I hope it hasn't confused you more, but you can really work your increases wherever you want to. I always want to maintain that slip stitch on the edge. So now I am ready for ridge 5, which is a short row. And it says I should have 4 stitches on my needle, which I do. Ridge 5 is to knit 2, wrap and turn, and knit 2. So here's a short row. I'm not going to be connecting this row down below. I'm only going to work a short row. So I'm going to knit 2. So I'm going to slip the first one, which counts as a knit stitch, knit 1 more, and then I'm going to do a wrap and turn. Here's how you work a wrap and turn. I bring my yarn to the front. I go into the next stitch as if to purl and pull it over. Then I bring my yarn back to the back. So I've wrapped the stitch. Then I bring the stitch back over here to my left needle so it's completely wrapped. Then I turn my work. My yarn is here in the front and I want it to be in the back so I can knit back. So I bring my yarn to the back and then I knit those 2 stitches. So I didn't work all the stitches, I only worked the first 2 stitches. And then I turn my work. So we just worked a short row, which is ridge 5. We still have 4 stitches. We didn't have to do an increase on that one. We just did a short row. Now ridge 6 is another join row. And again, it calls for you to do a knit into the front and back on this first stitch. But I'm going to do mine on the second stitch because I want this first stitch to be a slip stitch. So I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise because that's how I like to do it. I'm going to bring my yarn to the back. I'm going to make a new stitch here. Knit into the front and the back of the same stitch. I just increased a stitch right there. Then I'm going to knit till I get to the last stitch and I'm going to pull it over. So I'm going into the stitch as if to purl. Now I'm going to pick up and knit a stitch. So in the next hole, which is right here, I go in, bring the yarn through, and that slip stitch, I'm going to pull it over. Now I have 5 stitches. I'm going to turn my work and knit back on all stitches. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this video because it's kind of long and this video is already sort of long. So what I'm doing here is I am either working a all knit row that joins the upper part to the lower part, or I'm working a short row. And every couple of rows you do an increase. So again, I always slip the first stitch and work an increase on the second stitch and then work the join. And then a short row doesn't go all the way to the end to do the join. You only work just the first couple of stitches, do a wrap and turn, and then work back. So again, this section of the pattern, you're either doing a plain knit row and a join, or you're doing a knit into the front and the back of the second stitch and working the join at the end, or you're doing a short row, which is a wrap and turn in the middle of the row. So those 3 rows you alternate between as you follow along on the pattern. And if you continue to do that, you should get 10 stitches by the end of ridge 16. We're on the very last increase to get back to our 10 stitches. So this is an increase row. So I'm going to do my increase on the second stitch in. So I'm going to slip my first stitch, work an increase, knit into the front and the back, knit to the end and do a join. Last stitch, I'm going to slip it over, pick up and knit the next stitch, pass over that slip stitch off and knit back, and this should give me my 10 stitches. We did it. We got all the way around. We got to our 10. I'm going to lay this down so you can see how it's looking. You can see this wedge started here with 1 stitch and then we slowly increased it. So now you're to the part of the pattern where you're going to be doing a series of long rows and long ridges where you'll work all the way to the end and join, and every now and then you'll be doing a wrap and turn row, a short row, where you only work to 8 stitches and back. So there's only 2 rows you have to memorize for this next section. While we're on our first column of 10 stitches, you're going to be going back and forth between these 2 rows, ridge 1 and ridge 2. Ridge 1 is a knit 8, slip 1, which counts as a knit, 2. We're going to do these 2 ridge rows, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, wrap and turn, wrapping that 9th stitch, turning the work and knitting back. That's ridge 1. And then ridge 2 is working all the way over to the join. So that was a short row. Now we're going to work along, or that was a short ridge. Now we're going to work all the way down. So slip 1. Now we knit to that second to the last stitch. Second to the last stitch, pull over the last stitch, pick up and knit, cast off that 1 stitch, knit back. So you're going to repeat these 2 ridges over and over, a short row and a long row, over and over until you've gone around the circle 1 time. I'll show you what I mean here when I lay this down flat. So we just did a short row and a long row right here. So you're going to continue to work those 2 long row, short row until you have gone all the way around and come back to here. So what I do at this point, and I believe the instructions tell you to do this, is I go ahead and hang a stitch marker on my row so that when I get all the way around, I'll know where to do the next part of the pattern. So I'm just going to run a stitch marker right here, hang it on the outside. Now I'm going to continue working my one long row, one short row, again until you've gone all the way around until you get to this marker. Once you get to this marker, you're going to increase the number of long rows. So you'll do 2 long rows, 1 short row. You will go all the way around, and when you hit the marker again, you'll do 3 long rows and 1 short row. The instructions all explain all this. The further you get away from the middle, you're going to continue to do more long rows and then a short row, and that keeps the arc going. So let me show you on the my bigger afghan that I've been working on. I am 7 columns out from the center. That's where I'm at in my the one I'm working on now. I'm 7 columns out. So here's the part we just did. So I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which in the columns that I'm working now, I work 7 long rows and then a short row. 7 long rows, 7 long rows of joining, then a short row that doesn't join. So each column away from the center, I will add a long row. If you do have questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for asking for this video. I hope it's helped, and good luck on your blanket. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.